This is TNT Sports.
This the scene an hour and a half ago from the 6th Street side of the MCI Center here in Washington. Michael Jordan making his way, a familiar scene. The video cameras once again following Michael as he enters the arena. Comeback number 2 well underway, and this yet another step tonight. Moments ago, Michael taking the court for his first home preseason game as a Washington Wizard. They expect a crowd of 15,000 here in our nation's capital. The crowd still filing in as we get ready for the New Jersey Nets and the Washington Wizards, the opening game of our preseason doubleheader here on TNT. The Lakers and Kings to follow, and it's the start of Turner's extensive NBA coverage. We welcome you. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, along with the Czar, Mike Fratello. We're joined tonight by Hall of Famer John Thompson. And John, Doug Collins was telling us earlier that he is looking to play Michael 30 minutes or more tonight in this preseason home opener. You've seen a lot of Michael Jordan during the course of preseason and practice sessions and during the games. What's your assessment? How has he looked?
Well, I'm a little surprised about the 30 minutes this soon, but I've seen him during the summer. I thought he looked fantastic, particularly because of how long he's been out. I think, Marv, he's going to have to make some adjustments in his game. He's not going to be athletic, Michael, as much as he's going to be on the floor using his mind a lot more than he has. The biggest concern that I would have with Michael right now is his cast of characters. They're inexperienced, and they can't stay out on the floor and just be in awe of him.
All right, and Czar, Thursday night in the Wizards lost in a preseason game at Detroit. The feeling was that Michael's teammates were stargazing. They were standing around and just watching Jordan, which upset Doug Collins and the coaching staff. How did they resolve that?
Let's look at the Washington roster. They have 9 players on this team who have 3 years or less in the NBA. Since Michael hasn't been around for 3 years, they haven't had an opportunity to play against him during the NBA season. So it's only natural that they would be in awe of Michael Jordan. Now, I'll tell you what the head coach, Doug Collins, did yesterday in practice. He took a 10-minute segment of the scrimmage that they had. Michael was on the white team, and he said for the next 10 minutes, Michael Jordan is not allowed to shoot the basketball. And by the way, after 7 minutes, he stopped and reminded the white team they had not scored yet.
All right, both teams have just completed their pregame warm-ups. We're set for the introduction of the starting lineups. Let's join with the public address here at MCI Center, Kevin Heilbronner.
And now, fans, here's the starting lineup for the visiting New Jersey Nets. At forward, it's 6'7" from the University of Arizona, number 24, Richard Jefferson. Also at forward, it's 6'10" from Utah, number 44, Keith Van Horn. At 7 feet from the University of Washington, the center, number 11, Todd McCulloch. At guard, at 6'5" from Villanova, number 30, Kerry Kittles. And at guard, it's 6'4" from the University of California, number 5, Jason Kidd. The head coach of the Nets is Byron Scott. City in the world. Here are the DC Lottery Hot 5 starting lineups for your Washington Wizards. At guard, it's 6 foot even from Nebraska, number 10, Tyronn Lue. At forward, it's 6'6" from UNLV, number 8, Tyronn
first thank everybody for coming out here tonight. Due to the tragic events that took place on September 11th, I'd first like to say that, we as professional athletes realize that we're very fortunate and privileged to have this opportunity to play the game that we truly love for you all. Lastly, we are here to have fun, though. I think all of us. So let's look forward to having a great season, and let's get after it. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to please rise as we join NBA fans across the country in a moment of silence to honor the victims of the September 11th terrorist attacks on America. We ask you to please remain standing for the singing of God Bless America and our national anthem following that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to sing God Bless America and our national anthem is Pop Life recording artist Series.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her from the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, where we're from. Oh, God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, God bless America, my home, sweet home. Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
When I step on the basketball court, I'm gonna consider myself as trying to be the best basketball player I can be. Physically, I know that I'm not 25 years old. I'm not stepping up and saying that I will be 25 years old when I step on that court, but I feel like I can play the game of basketball at the highest level. I'm not walking into the dark. I know what I'm capable of doing. I know what's going to be expected of me. I know everybody's putting my head on the block. Everybody's motivated to come out and play against me. Well, everybody was motivated to play against me when I left. So things hadn't changed since I've been gone. I'm just going to play the game of basketball that I love. I'm not about the money. I don't care if I get paid a dime. I've said that many years. It doesn't matter if I play, get paid $1. I'm going to play the game of basketball because I love it.
And there is Michael about to make his home preseason debut with the Wizards as we welcome you back to Washington for this preseason matchup. The Wizards' first home appearance. Washington at 1-2. And exhibition play of the Nets come in at 2 up and 2 down. Once again, a look at the starting lineups for both clubs. The Nets with the rookie from Arizona, Richard Jefferson, who will have the assignment of going up against Michael Jordan, Keith Van Horn, Todd McCullough. Also up front, Kerry Kittles, who's made it back from that right knee offseason surgery and has looked very impressive. And Jason Kidd, now the captain of the team. We're joined on the sidelines by Craig Sager, who will be working both benches. Let's check in with Craig.
Oh, thank you, Marv. The perfect ending for Michael Jordan's career is captured forever on silver halide crystals. A game-winning jumper in the NBA Finals. A golden moment sculpted for eternity in the Basketball Hall of Fame. But it's not over. And while some are afraid that maybe Jordan's legacy or trophy case will be tarnished, Michael is not among them. He has not lost his luster. He has polished his game. And when he says he'd do it for free, you can bank on it. He is donating his entire salary, the $1 million veteran minimum tonight, to charity, beginning with a hefty contribution to the Washington Sports and Entertainment Education Fund to those who lost a parent or garden in the Pentagon tragedy on September 11th. A heartfelt gesture by one who loves this game. Marv?
All right, thank you, Craig. The officials are Mike Mathis, Don Baden, Ed Malloy. The Wizards in white controlling the opening tip to Ron Lue, to Michael Jordan over Jefferson. Yes!
Why did we have a feeling that this was going to be a big night for Michael Jordan, that these fans are in for a treat tonight? He has been looking forward to playing in front of the Washington fans. He missed the inter-squad scrimmage. He felt very badly about that, but he's here tonight to show something.
One thing for sure, he's not bashful.
He came out firing. And the ball back to Washington.
As we know, at the top of the circle, Jordan's so dangerous because he can go right, left, and if you give him a step, his shooting right now is right where it was when he finished the game 3 years ago.
Well, the one thing you'll see him do a lot of, I think a lot more, is posting. He was trying to post Jefferson just then, but he had to come out to receive the ball.
Jordan this time comes up short. Richard Jefferson, known as a very fine defensive player, but finding his way in this his first NBA season. Kerry Kittles shows the touch.
They're very excited with the play of Kerry Kittles, and talking to Byron Scott, he said, you know, we knew during the summer that he was on his way back. We didn't want to get too excited about it, but a healthy Kerry Kittles for the season is huge for this team.
Tom Thomas, rookie from Syracuse, sat out last season because of a broken toe, not able to hit on his first attempt. Jefferson played by Jordan. Nice backdoor pass to Kittles, who beat Nesby.
Well, that's one of the things that Doug Collins was talking about, the penetration of the opponent. That was a penetration without the basketball. They've got to defend because there's not a definite shot blocker in the back for the Wizards.
And Jordan stopped by McCullough. Here comes Jason Kidd. Pretty lead from McCullough, passing off the dribble.
That's one of the things Byron Scott mentioned to us, is that one thing Jason Kidd does is he keeps us running, something that he wanted to do as a coach a year ago, but he felt that Stephon Marbury was more of a half-court guard, set offense, get his shots off of set plays. He maybe didn't want to push it as hard as the coach did a year ago.
Tell you what, if Eton Thomas wants to keep that starting job, he can't let Todd beat him down the floor, though.
Nesby able to drill it from downtown. Tyrone Nesby in his 4th year out of UNLV, acquired last November from the LA Clippers in the trade involving Cherokee Parks. Richard Hamilton sitting it out today because of a elbow problem. So Nesby in the starting lineup. Lue is the starter at the point. And a defensive 3-second violation called, and that means a technical foul shot. It's one of the new rules. We have been seeing quite a bit of this call in the preseason.
No more warnings. You go right to the line. You start putting points on the board. And here we have the new rules this year. You'll be seeing the defensive guidelines have been eliminated. The 3-second call we just saw, only 8 seconds to get the ball up past the midcourt line. And then incidental contact, we're going to let that go. Just play on as long as it doesn't reroute or move a guy out of his path.
I had enough trouble with guys calling it 3 seconds on the offensive players. Now you're going to have to watch the defensive player.
Foul was called on Thomas, leading on McCullough. The New Jersey Nets during the preseason, 2 up, 2 down, won the last 2 over Cleveland and Detroit after losing to Charlotte. And the Knicks last year 26-56, next to last in the Atlantic Division. Last time the Nets made the playoffs was 97-98. They won only 1 playoff series in the last 24 years. Here's Kittles. Jordan off the fake, drawing the foul, picked up by Jefferson.
Well, and that's the thing that I think that he will do a lot more of. He'll use a lot more fakes. He'll try to outthink the guy, and that's why I refer to him as floor Jordan. A lot of the things that he had done in the past were overpowering, physical, floating, but right now you see him drive at the end of his dribble. He gives a ball fake, gets the player up in the air, and gets the foul.
And that's why it's so important for him to establish his shot early in the game, because then it allows him to use his foot fakes, take him off the dribble, 1 or 2 dribbles, stop, show the ball again, and get the opponent up in the air.
John, I know you know the answer to this, but Czar, do you know the last Bullet or Wizard player to wear number 23? Don't tell him. Oh, I'm sorry, time is up.
I'm sorry.
It's been worn by 10 players. The last one to wear number 23, Tim Legler. Nice move. Jefferson, who opened up with a very tough shooting performance against Charlotte, 1 for 11, but has come on since then. Nice play by Thomas.
I would like to say that I did know the answer. I was waiting for the music to start. I thought I had X number of seconds like they do. I see that all the time on television.
You have to react. You have to react. That's embarrassing.
New Jersey's beating the Wizards with a lot of cuts without the basketball. It looks to be an awful lot more movement without the ball because of the new rules now.
Well, Kittles got back to break it up. You saw Jordan working his way down court.
John, remember, we saw that same thing happen as Van Horn goes to the basket and it's fouled. We saw the same thing happen in practice yesterday. Michael turned and said to his teammate, if I'm not open, hold the basketball. Don't try and force it down the floor. The defensive man was back with him in transition. No need to throw the long pass.
And I think that's one of the problems that we all talk about Michael's effect on the opponent. He has just as strong an effect on his own players. They have to adapt to him and realize that he needs help to play with.
Keith Van Horn able to complete the 3-point play. He's had a good training camp, trying to bounce back from last year, an injury-hit season. Kid on the open floor, that time committed himself, went to the air and threw the errant pass.
It's going to be an interesting season for Jason Kidd because every place he has been, he has played on winning teams. He generates that kind of energy. He generates belief in his teammates, and now it's going to be interesting to see if he can take this New Jersey franchise, which has struggled, and get them to the playoff level and then go from there, further into the playoffs.
Ron Lue, the one-time Los Angeles Laker, giving it back. Shot clock at 6. Christian Laettner off the spin. Nice move by Laettner. And the game is tied at 11.
Well, see, and I'd like to see Christian get a little bit more involved in the offense because he has so much flexibility. He can go inside, he can go outside. He's one of the people that I think definitely has got to be more offensively motivated. And that's another cut. They're killing him with the cuts.
Once again, Jefferson able to finish.
Hit the high post. They started a split that time. Faked the split, ran the back door.
Jordan got the step and drew the foul. It's on Jefferson. That's his second. I mentioned the Wizards tonight without Richard Hamilton. The Nets without Kenyon Martin out with a knee problem.
There we see the little change of direction. McCullough flashing up to the high post. You get a backdoor cut, and then it's a matter of just giving the ball up to the open player.
5 minutes gone by. Nets with a 13-11 lead. They double up on Laettner. Lou with the shot clock running down. Here comes Kittles. Oh, he lost the handle. Van Horn keeps it alive. Rebounded by Thomas.
Anytime you play against Jason Kidd, Marv, you got to get back because he's going to push the ball with or without somebody else.
And Nesby able to drill it to tie the game at 13. Jason Kidd, four-time All-Star, led the NBA in assists once again last year, averaging just under 10 per game. Kittles takes it to the rim and is hacked.
Boy, he has a terrific first step right now. He looks like his body is live. He's ready for this season. Let's face it, he struggled the entire season during his rehabilitation last year. He gets a half a step on you. He's by you. He's down the middle of the lane. He actually had an easy drop-off pass that time to his big man, but he was so focused on rim, he never saw McCullough to his right.
Well, an interesting thing about it is that they talked about his injury in the beginning as if it were a career-costing injury. And now you look at him, he's not even walking gingerly on that. That's a great sign for the Nets.
We were talking earlier with Byron Scott about the fact that they're about to give up on Kerry Kittles. Felt that it was all over. This is fifth NBA season. Rehabbing all of last year from that off-season surgery on the right knee. We saw Courtney Alexander check in for the first time as the ball goes back to New Jersey. Offensive foul is called on Leitner.
Marv, that's why the medical opinions on these staffs are so important, because that affects your draft decisions on draft day. You've got a player there saying, hey, look, this guy may be done. He may never play again. Suddenly you may think about drafting a two-guard instead of going another direction.
Well, and what is even more phenomenal is that Curry has had 4 operations in 5 years on his knee. I mean, that's amazing, really. Some guys get a twist ankle and don't want to play anymore.
Here's Jordan. Michael Jordan, 2 for 4 from the field. He has 6 points.
You see the cross match there. Normally you would have Kerry Kittles playing against Michael Jordan since he's the 2-guard. But they've got Jefferson a little strong, a little bigger on Michael, anticipating all the post-up action.
And the foul on McCullough. That leads to a timeout with 5.5 remaining in the first. Jordan with 6 points. The Wizards up by 1. Now this is what you call an impressive portfolio. Michael Jordan, man who led the Bulls to 6 NBA championships, 6-time NBA Finals MVP, led the NBA in scoring 10 times, 1-time Wizards president of basketball operations, it should be pointed out.
So, John, if the guy came knocking on the door, handed you that slip of paper, what do you think? Give him a shot or what?
I think so. I think so. Some folks, you don't need a resume.
Well, last season, this Wizard franchise went 19-63. They finished the season losing 12 of the last 14. It was the worst year in the history of the franchise. It's a once proud franchise that has not won a playoff game now in 19 seasons. Jordan to the crossover. Jordan to the fadeaway and off the mark. Jason Kidd accelerates, once again able to push it down to Richard Jefferson.
Well, he creates so much of a problem. He pushes the ball. He causes people to come over and help, and he dishes it. The Wizards have to get better in transition defense, though.
Thomas to the left hand. McCullough with the rebound.
Big problem against Detroit in the loss the other night. 71 points scored by the guards. Dribble penetration. There we see it again by Jason Kidd. They did not get back with their big people. They could not keep the ball out of the lane. And then if guards are going to come up with 71 points between them, you got a problem.
Jefferson.
Here's Tyronn Lue. Once again, Kidd, you can see checking the floor, looking for an opportunity.
Right away, Miles, right away. Looking down the floor, and if you run, he'll get you a layup.
You know, John, if that keeps happening where they score all these points in transition, they can't keep the ball out of the lane, that's where the old 2-3 zone comes into play, doesn't it? We start thinking about maybe playing a little different defense.
Thomas, a shot blocker, able to reject, but McCullough able to recover. What a play by Todd McCullough. It counts, and the foul.
The one thing that the Nets players told me before the game about McCullough, that they were so impressed with his hands that if you throw him something, he can catch it. He can pick it off on the floor. And this is a great example of the ball being blocked. Thomas takes off, but he still pursues it and is able to pick it up and still follow up and get a basket off of it.
Now the Wizards going with Atan Thomas as the starting center. Doug Collins very disappointed that the rookie from North Carolina, first-round draft pick by Cleveland, Brendan Haywood, is not available for a while. He had a very good camp out with the torn ligaments in his left thumb, wearing a cast for 3 weeks. Surgery is possible. That would sideline him for a couple of months.
Oh, they're really excited, though, about Hayward, because looking to the future, you have Hayward, you have Thomas, and then you have Kwame Brown. That's pretty big, talented young players there for hopefully many years here in Washington.
How far in the future do you have to look, though?
If you are a head coaches don't look too far
in the future.
That's right.
You made a good point about the zone, though, Mike. I think one of the big things is the fact that you got to stay in front of the ball if you're the Wizards, because they really don't have a shot blocker in the back who can make up for mistakes that they make.
Rookie out of Stanford, Jason Collins, with his first shot. Hubert Davis has come on for the first time, replacing Michael Jordan. Courtney Alexander working on Donnie Marshall, and hits. Courtney Alexander, who can shoot, second year out of Fresno State. As a senior, averaged 25 a game, led the nation in scoring.
This is a critical time now for Washington, because it's the minutes that Michael Jordan is on the bench. And now they have to come up with their own identity. Which players are going to step up? Who do you give the ball to? How do we score?
Keith Van Horn again. Able to take advantage, go straight down the lane.
Well, that's a problem, because they definitely, Doug worked on that. He talked about that yesterday at practice, but it shouldn't be that simple that you should get penetration and go from the top of the key to the basket.
Kidd finds Kittles, and the Nets continue the run. They now lead at 25-17. The Nets with 20 points in the paint to 4 for Washington, and Doug Collins wants to talk it over at 11-2 run by New Jersey.
I want to make the playoffs. Maybe that's unrealistic. I don't know, but I sure don't want to go in as that we're going to play like a lottery team. I think so much is to be determined in this season about where certain teams are going to fall. I think there's probably 3 or 4 teams maybe that are head and shoulders above teams in the East, but you know, injuries and all maybe determine those last 2 or 3 playoff spots, and I want our guys to fight for that.
Doug Collins has made the transition from the broadcast booth back to coaching. And guys, he had said he so thoroughly enjoyed bonding with his partner last year. And he was very emotional that he...
You mean that he left? That he was upset?
That he had to leave his partner.
He was broken up about it?
He was. He doesn't like to talk about it.
I need to talk to him.
He's going to be upset again if his expectations are to be in the playoff with this team. I'm going to tell you that.
This will be one of the all-time great coaching jobs if this Wizard team does make it to the playoffs.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, if they keep running an equal opportunity offense, they're going to be in trouble. Michael better get the ball.
Traveling violation.
Have to put the ball on the floor before you start taking those hip-hop steps as you're backing your guy down. And you know, John, when we watched practice yesterday, we wound up walking out and saying that Michael could set the field goal attempt record this season for a player if they get very competitive. And you know Michael, the way he is about that, he's going to want the ball, particularly if they're in close games down the stretch. And I think the other players probably will give it to him.
Well, particularly after they start playing for real, you're absolutely correct. His competitive instincts will take over, and he'll put more pressure on them to win, and he'll take over more.
Van Horn over Christian Laettner, and the Nets continue the good run. They now lead by 10. Foul is called on Horn. Michael Jordan played the first 8 minutes, 2 of 5 from the field, 6 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist. Popeye Jones and Chris Whitney now come on for Tyronn Lue and Christian Laettner.
So here's the dilemma as a coach. When Michael Jordan's on the floor, the game is close. It's competitive. For a while, the Wizards actually lead in the game. He goes out, the game starts to open up and get away. How many minutes can you play this guy during the course of the season?
You know the answer to that. You don't take him out if you want to win, and particularly because the players have got to get accustomed to playing without him. His presence is so great that these guys might even be better mobbed than they are, but they've gotten accustomed to watching him play, and that's what Doug was trying to get him to do yesterday.
But the problem is, here's a guy 38 going on 39, and if obviously Doug Collins and Michael Jordan are very serious about trying to make the playoffs, but you have to rest him. You're not looking at Michael Jordan at 32, 31, 28, and he's also going to come up with minor injuries that never bothered him in the past. So it's a dilemma. What about back-to-backs? How do you handle that?
If you rest him, you don't see the playoffs.
Right. That's right. And again, the New Jersey Nets take it to the rim. They have been doing it without any difficulty at all. Donnie Marshall was the finisher. 29-17. The Nets with the lead. Three-guard offense being used by the Wizards. Whitney with Alexander and Davis. Here's Alexander penetrating. So the net lead is now 10.
One other thing that these youngsters from Washington are learning slowly, it's like traveling with that rock band. They used to talk about when Michael was playing, in Chicago, what it was like in every city. Well, that's what these players on his team are facing, the hype that goes with each game. And as Doug Collins mentioned to us, teams come out to beat Michael Jordan, not the Washington Wizards. Every night they're up for him.
Donnie Marshall showing the touch, and the Nets now lead 32-19. Popeye Jones being played by Steve Goodrich, the second-year man from Princeton, a recent addition to the Nets squad.
One of the problems is they're putting so much pressure on the Wizards on the outside, and the Wizards really don't have a go-to guy inside to alleviate that.
Nets can hold for a final shot. Goodrich, the good Princeton man that he is, pointing to the clock to settle things down. And they'll hold for the last shot of the quarter. Jason Kidd running it down. Eric Dial. Final seconds. Dial. Oh! So a strong quarter for the New Jersey Nets, and they lead the Washington Wizards 32-19. They outscored the Wizards 18-4 the last 5.5 minutes. Led by Kerry Kittles with 7. Michael Jordan went the first 8 and scored 6 points. Excellent start for Jason Kidd, so instrumental in the Nets taking the 32-19 lead. 5 assists, 4 rebounds for Jason Kidd, who last year led the NBA in assists, only the 4th player in league history to lead in assists for 3 straight seasons, joining John Stockton, Bob Cousy, and Oscar Robertson in that department. 4th all-time in assists per game. Jason taking a seat right now. Lucius Harris has come on for the first time. A lot of contact. Look out. And a foul call.
You mentioned one of the key things with Jason Kidd, along with his 5 assists, those 4 rebounds. Because often when he gets that defensive rebound, he's the one that's busting out of there with the ball, leading the break. And we know how quick he is from end line to end line with the ball.
And that was a good sign right there, because Jones at least stopped the penetration. He got called for a foul. Everybody that's attempted to penetrate from the Nets have gone all the way to the basket. At least Jones got over that.
Lucius Harris at the line, and Kwame Brown, the 19-year-old overall #1 pick in the draft out of Brunswick, Georgia, has checked in for the first time for the Wizards.
Going back to practice yesterday, John, that's part of that trust that Doug Collins was talking about. Nobody wanted to leave their man to help out on somebody else's man for fear that their man would wind up dunking the basketball or getting the score. But you have to learn to trust your teammates. If I'm going to step up and help my teammate, someone will cover for me. That's when you have good team defense.
Absolutely correct. And I think it really helps an awful lot, too, if you've got somebody back there who will erase mistakes defensively. They just don't have that presence yet in the back where those guys feel as comfortable, and they're nervous about making switches and rotations.
And pass thrown by Alexander. The ball back to the Nets. Nets going with a combination of Jason Collins, Steve Goodrich, Donnie Marshall. Derek Dial now works the point. Lucius Harris is the shooting guard. While the Wizards with the two big men, Popeye Jones and Kwame Brown. Whitney thought he deflected it off Dial. It will be New Jersey ball. The Nets in the first quarter ran a layup drill. They went 14 of 23, 61% from the field. And they continue the hot shooting. Marshall has 7 points. He's 3 for 3 from the field.
You know, it's good, Mike, to see 5 players moving and cutting, whereas last year you'd see a lot more isolation, a lot more one-on-ones, 2-on-2s. But in watching the Nets in particular, everybody's moving without the basketball.
I like the movement that the Nets offense has right now. Passing, cutting, changing direction off the ball. It's a nice game to watch right now for New Jersey.
Open shot for Harris. Saved by Jones. Hubert Davis rejected from behind by Goodrich. Indication of how well the Nets are playing. They have 11 assists on 15 field goals. And that's a kick ball. Kwame Brown got a piece of it.
Goodrich used to that backdoor from the top of the circle. Princeton days running that offense. Here comes a dribble at you, change direction, go backdoor. He just tried to thread that needle in the lane.
And the thing helps, you'll make those cuts if you know you're going to get the ball. Jason Kidd, who's not in the game at this time, as you know, will make you cut because he'll give it to you if you do move.
Here's Goodrich from outside. Bobby Simmons, a rookie from DePaul, has come on for the first time for Washington. Player that Doug Collins has been high on. This is Kwame Brown. Driving to the traffic and draws the foul.
That's exactly what Doug Collins worked on with Kwame yesterday in practice. Stepping out off the low block, turning face up, and then he's so quick off the dribble with the first step.
Reminder coming up next here on TNT. Our preseason doubleheader action continues. The Sacramento Kings going up against the Los Angeles Lakers from Las Vegas, Nevada. Bob Neal and Hubie Brown will bring it to you. That'll be the second of our doubleheader. Here's Simmons. And the foul is called as Marshall took the hit. Foul on Simmons.
Donnie Marshall has played with a number of teams in the league, been given his opportunity, bounced around, went overseas for a little bit, came back again. He's one of those guys, Marv, that is on the borderline, almost there, almost ready to make somebody's team and stick for the entire season. But it's tough to get a job in this league.
Little traveling violation there by Jason Collins. Donnie Marshall spent time with Cleveland the past 3 years. You have him with the Cavs?
He was with us and then rejoined the Cavs a year ago, given another opportunity, had a short stay there, and then moved on.
To illustrate the problems of the Washington Wizards, and there are many problems, they have scored 4 points in 7 minutes. That will count. Kwame Brown plus the foul over the last 7 minutes now make it 6 points since Michael Jordan sat down.
You know, I think that's good that Kwame can step out and make that shot, but it's irrelevant that he's 6'11" and weighs 240 if he's going to have to shoot from the corner. He's got to get inside. The Wizards need a good post-up game. I think that's in front of him. It's not presently something that he's going to be able to do, though.
John, right now, after watching him practice yesterday, is he more of a power forward or a center for this league?
Well, he's far more of a power forward, and I think he's very raw at that. In playing defense, if you look out, he's not guarding the inside postman on defense. Offensively, both of the shots that he's taken have been facing the basket. The kid is going to be a great player, but it's going to take some time.
Here's Harris off the steal. Whitney is back, bottles him up. Good foul by Chris Whitney.
Transition opportunities for New Jersey, so many of them coming as a result of their work at the defensive end of the floor.
Timeout called, 8:42 to go in the first half, and it's the Nets with a 15-point lead.
So this is, a great opportunity for these young guys to experience, the best player of all time and to be on the same floor and to guard them at some point. But, I think it's a great learning experience. I think it's great for the game of basketball because, this is what he does best.
Jason Kidd paying Michael Jordan his due. Ultimate respect from Jason for what Michael has accomplished in the league. And I think Jason trying to show the fact that these young guys in the league who haven't had the chance to play against them will see the greatest up close now.
And I think they do have an awful lot of respect for Michael. It goes without saying. But I also feel that all of them are going to compete. It's particularly a guy like Jason is going to compete and try to exploit the fact that he's playing on a weak team.
Saw the numbers on Jordan. He played the first 8 minutes. Doug Collins told us earlier that he wanted to play Michael somewhere in the area of 30 minutes. He'd been bothered by a sprained left foot, injured last Saturday in Miami, although he says he's all right. In that game, he had 18 points in the first quarter.
But I tell you what, Marv, I think Doug is very smart in saving him in exhibition because once the regular season comes, from what we see right now, Michael's going to have to be on the floor for this team to be very competitive, and particularly early in the year until they get their self-confidence.
They also may have to think about changing their tempo a little bit, John, about, exactly how much do you want to run in the game. If you need Michael on the floor more, do you keep pushing the ball, trying to get those easy baskets, or do you get Michael down the floor involved in what you're trying to do?
I think you're going to have to get him involved because they don't have a post-up game. Michael's going to have to post up as well as score from the perimeter, but the biggest problem is they're terrible in getting back in transition defensively.
Well, Popeye Jones with the reverse. The basket counts, and the foul is called, so Popeye will go to the line. Foul called on Jason Collins.
You see some of the skills that Kwame Brown has. Take it with your left hand up in the air and then drops it down inside to his teammate. That pass yesterday in practice cost him a little bit because the coaches are trying to impress on him when he's in that paint, either become a scorer or kick it out to a shooter. That time he went back looking inside. Big man passing in the lane is a difficult thing to do.
Particularly for a kid that young once you get into competition, but he definitely shows a lot of skills because that was a great pass. You want him in the paint, as you indicated, to be a bull, not a butterfly. Go up strong and be aggressive.
And as you saw, Michael has made his way back onto the floor. The Wizards outscored 17-9 while he sat down. Oh, what a play. Beautiful steal by Alexander, and then Whitney puts it down. Chris Whitney. So the net lead is now 12.
See, Michael Jordan understood that he had a shooter with the basketball. Whitney's more of a shooter than he is a point guard. What Jordan did is stepped up in transition, gave him a screen, wiped out two defenders, got Chris the shot.
Marshall on fire. 9 points for Marshall. He's 4 for 4 from the field.
But see, that's the thing, Mike. Michael may give up a little athleticism, but he certainly doesn't give up intelligence and strength. He looks a lot stronger body-wise. As you said, he took 2 guys out on that screen to get that shooter open.
Good hustle by both teams. Aaron Williams, who was a question mark for tonight's game, bothered by tendonitis in his right knee, has checked in. As we mentioned earlier, Kenyon Martin, one of the Nets' star players, coming off an outstanding rookie year. Sideline, he's back home, did not make the trip. Also a tendonitis problem in his left knee. Nice pass. Alexander, though, too strong. Here comes Dial. Has Harris with him. And then pulls it back to regroup. Here's Harris. Rebounded by Brown, able to reach over Marshall.
And that's what he's got to do. I mean, that's what they need him for. They need him to rebound, to defend. His offense will come because obviously he has those skills. He's got to be able to post up a little bit more on offense, though.
Good play by Marshall to break it up as Jordan was looking to post. 6.5 remaining in this first half. Marv Albert with Bizarre, Mike Fratello, John Thompson. The Nets with a 40-26 lead over the Washington Wizards. Michael Jordan making his home preseason debut as a member of the Wizards. And the foul is called on Whitney. That is his second. Here comes Keith Van Horn checking back in. Goodrich sits down. And the rookie Richard Jefferson back on the floor. He opened up by defending on Michael Jordan. Jefferson throwing in. Eric Dial right now, the early line favorite to win the backup point job behind Jason Kidd.
I'd hate to have to open up having to guard Michael Jordan and trying to make a team.
Harris. And a loose ball foul called on the Nets.
Wizards are doing a much better job, Michael, cutting off penetration now. The Nets aren't getting all the way to the basket. They're closing the floor. They're giving support and rotating a little bit better.
So now you see Jersey draw and kick. Now they're getting the big men to commit and stop their penetration to the basket. Now they're trying to find their open teammates on the perimeter who in turn have to step up and make shots.
The thing I'm liking, too, is now I'm seeing Brown at least become more conscious of going to the defensive board. Watching him in practice, I didn't see him react as much as I would have liked for him to have reacted to the big man things. He didn't get that rebound, but he's conscious of going after it, and that's what the Wizards need.
Imagine the adjustment for this young man. The whole season last year in Brunswick, Georgia, he may have been challenged 3 times the whole year, according to what Doug Collins said. 3 games when Doug sat with him and said, how many times do you really have to get up for a game and really work at it? He said, well, maybe 3 games. Well, this is 82 games that they're coming after you.
Well, that's one of the things in watching it. Well, even on that one, he challenged that shot, and that's good. That's another big man thing. But Michael Jordan has tried to help him a lot, as we saw in practice, and counsel him and giving him a lot of guidance. But I don't feel sorry for him because his paycheck doesn't say student on it.
19 years old, who celebrate his 20th birthday next March. Brown looked to go baseline. Got it back to Alexander. Shot clock running down. And as Popeye Jones trying to tip it home, a loose ball foul is called. Timeout is taken with 5.5 remaining in this first half. The Nets lead by 16.
The NBA on TNT is brought to you by Mazda, who invites you to discover the sheer joy of motion. And by McDonald's. We love to see you smile.
Well, Tuesday nights on TNT fall under the spell of Charmed.
Meet 3 sisters.
Something weird is going on here.
Who are about to put you under their spell. Charmed is on TNT.
Five and a half remaining in this first half. It's the Nets 42, the Wizards 26. Both teams now over the foul limit. Foul a moment ago called on Kwame Brown, putting Aaron Williams at the line. Biggest lead of the night for New Jersey. Ron Lue is back on the floor. Michael Jordan playing at a small forward position up front with Popeye Jones and Kwame Brown. Jordan, yes.
You know what is great about that? Brown was open inside and wanted the ball real quick, but Michael knows the importance of running the system, particularly in an exhibition game. He just calmed him down, forced him to run the play, and off of the play they got a shot, which will give them confidence once the season starts.
They run this thing all the way through, John, just as you mentioned. They stay with it. They get a screen down on Michael at the end. They have to swing him and reversing the ball, and then his jumper is picture perfect as he goes out.
Well, particularly in exhibition, the young kid Mike wants to shoot it with the first thing coming. A coach, as Michael Jordan is on the floor, wants to do what he has to do to get him open, as he did right there.
Jordan tried to set up Brown, but did not get off the good shot.
He didn't realize how close he was to the backboard. He could have taken it and powered it up right from there for a layup.
Doesn't have a lot of shots in there, Mike. That's what he's got to improve on. I'm more impressed with him in this game because I see him doing more big man things. But he's got to make himself have an inside presence, and then his outside game is really going to be phenomenal.
And a pushing foul. Popeye Jones with a good hustle.
You think all of a sudden Brown now turns around and shoots. Kwame's used to a high school kid being there, and these big fellas are fan. And he said, oh, my God, now something's between me and the basket. I think that'll make you throw up some quickies, too.
Yeah, it changes your perspective of the game a little bit.
Look at Michael. Michael's now giving him some guidance, talking with him. The thing I think is beautiful about Michael doing that is he does it before the action as well as after the action and gives his kid confidence.
Michael looks at it as if this is my project. I mean, they drafted him, and now Michael has come back, works with him every day in practice, and we saw yesterday. I mean, Michael will be very positive with him, constructive, okay, in his criticism. Then, you know, at times he'll come back and say the hard things that he has to say to him also to make the youngster understand that that's not how it's supposed to be done.
And I don't even think they've heard the hard things yet.
No.
Wait until they get in the regular season game. This man wants to win. That's the one thing we know about Michael Jordan.
Coming up on 4 minutes remaining in the first half. Van Horn gives it back. Here's Kittles. Beautiful stroke from downtown by Kerry Kittles.
And that's what you were talking about, Mike. They're closing up the middle. They're penetrating and pitching it out real well. I like the way this Jersey team is playing now. They're playing together and they're playing with intelligence.
Some of these young guys may not remember Kerry Kittles from a couple years ago. They're understanding he's a pretty good basketball player. He can shoot the basketball when he gets it going.
Alexander and Williams with the rebound. Dial operating at the point. Dial around Lou. Will it count? Yes, it does. And the foul. He got the call on the continuation.
Well, the interesting thing about that, everybody talks about Lou's defensive presence, and obviously he is good. He did a great job in guarding Allen Iverson, but he's accustomed to having Shaquille O'Neal in the back now to stop it. You can become very aggressive if Shaquille O'Neal is in the back. Shaquille, I hate to tell you, ain't there no more, fellas.
No, and he did his probably greatest work against Allen Iverson when Allen did not have the basketball, denied him the basketball, and then once Allen caught it and did put it down, as you mentioned, there was someone real big back there.
The big fella back there helps defensive pressure an awful lot.
During Laker practices during the finals, Tyronn Lue played the role of Allen Iverson, and then, as you mentioned, did the great shadow job. The Wizards coaching staff very upset with Lue off that last drive by Dial. Here's Jordan. Yes.
Well, if Tyronn Lue is going to be their starting point guard, and Doug mentioned the big positive he gives him is pushing the ball back at other people, they need him to stop people off the dribble. That has to be one of his main jobs, the defensive end.
And that's why the support, the rotation's got to be there, because the guys in this league are too good, as you know, Mike. If you put a lot of pressure on a guy, he's going to penetrate to the basket, and you've got to get some help from somebody. You've got to at least feel secure enough to be aggressive.
Van Horn will go to the line. Jordan is now 4 for 7 from the field. He has 10 points. Byron Scott takes a timeout with 2:46 remaining in this first half. Here's Jordan with the fake on Marshall and hits. In his second year as head coach of the Nets, Byron Scott, a member of 3 Laker championship teams during the Showtime era. However, back in 1991, Byron was at the wrong end in terms of the win column as he faces a fellow by the name of Michael Jordan. This Michael's first NBA championship. The Lakers losing to the Bulls in 5, and Jordan, the 1991 MVP of the finals, averaged 31 points per game, 8 assists, 6 rebounds in that playoff series.
You spoke about Byron being at the wrong end. He joins a club of a whole lot of folks being at the wrong end of that man's jump shot. And I tell you what, he hasn't lost a heck of a lot in watching him, Mike. He doesn't do the putbacks. He doesn't rebound as much as he had in the past. But I'll tell you what, he's still got it.
Yes, and as they did at the end of his days in Chicago, the offense was adjusted and adapted to a different Michael Jordan than the one that first came into the league during his early years. And that's what Doug Collins is doing here. They'll get Michael down low, as you mentioned earlier, most of the time, make him the primary threat from the post area, and he'll get his share of jump shots from the outside.
Yeah, there's one right there that comes up short. John, when the announcement was first made that first Michael was considering the comeback, and then he came out finally and said he would, as I recall on your radio show in Washington, you were not in favor of it. You didn't think it was a good move.
Well, not at all. I wanted to see him stay in administration. I think Michael was a very intelligent person. I wanted to see him do that. But I respected the fact that he didn't become incarcerated by his reputation and did the thing that he felt comfortable doing. But I did want him to stay in administration.
Here's Jordan drawing the foul. It counts. The basket counts, and Jordan to the line as he's hit by Marshall. What timing by Michael.
I'm kind of chuckling here because Donnie Marshall gave this incredulous look to the official, like, who me fouling? But I think he needs to understand who he just was leaning up against. That's going to happen an awful lot this year, where Michael gives you that fake, you lean into him a little bit, he's going to get the call.
Well, the thing that was very impressive with that move, he had to use a lot of legs, and right now he's trying to get his legs under him, as is the case with most of the older pros right now. But he used a lot of leg movement to get that shot.
Jordan has 7 of the last 9 Wizard points. It's a 16-point game. The Nets with the lead. Here's Kittles. Williams lost it. Last touch, though. The Wizards. Have you changed your mind in watching Michael during the preseason, or you still feel that he should have stayed retired?
Well, I changed my mind because I enjoy him as an entertainer, and I think that he has the right to do what he wants to do, and I respect the fact that he wasn't afraid of protecting his image and got out here and participated. But I wanted it just as much to see him do the things administratively that I knew he could do.
Jason Kidd with the move on Tyronn Lue.
And beside that, I love watching him play.
I think we see a little turn here.
Yes, we do. We do.
Foul is called. It's an offensive foul. It's on Kwame Brown. That's his second.
Yeah, but that wasn't all that bad, because going back to yesterday's practice, they were working with Kwame Brown on how to post up. I mean, that's something you assume a big man would know. Yet Doug Collins and his staff broke it down into exactly how they want him posting up. They didn't like what they saw during practice yesterday.
Well, and as you know, Mike, you've got to make some mistakes out there, particularly with this kid. Doug's got enough courage to go with him until he learns. The kid is raw. He's not green, he's raw. But he's got a lot of talent, and one day will be a great star in this league.
11 points now from Keith Van Horn. We're under a minute remaining in this first half. Jordan got the step and is fouled, hit hard from behind by Marshall.
I like the presence that time by Kwame Brown. He turned and pivoted, and look, he passed by 2 other people until he finally found Michael on the weak side of the floor. Great presence by the big man. He's looking, nothing there, nothing there. That's the third option where he found Michael across the floor. Pretty good decision, by the way.
Very good decision, especially when you're passing it to the boss. He's not a dumb fella. He may be inexperienced, but he's certainly not stupid.
Michael Jordan has played 15 minutes. He now has 14 points. You saw the stat line, 5 for 9 from the field, 4 for 4 from the line.
Sometimes in watching him, you just get the impression that he's holding back something, waiting for the real McCoy to start so he can explode.
And the Wizards will face the real McCoy, the regular season opening a week from Tuesday night. Kerry Kittles again at Madison Square Garden against the New York Knicks.
John mentioned earlier that New Jersey's offense is fun to watch. I mean, how many baskets have they gotten off of just simple basketball plays? Back cuts, jam, guard around, fake a handoff, dribble to the middle of the floor, wind up with an open look at the basket.
Coming up on 10 seconds remaining in the half as Kidd works the clock down. Final seconds, Kittles unleashing. So in the half, it's the New Jersey Nets 55 and the Washington Wizards 37. The Nets led by Kittles with 12 and Horn with 11. 5 assists, 5 rebounds for Kidd. And Michael Jordan with 15 points in 16 minutes of play. 5 for 9 from the field and 5 for 5 from the foul line. Coming up, our AT&T halftime report. The Nets have led by as many as 19. They're up by 18 at halftime here at the MCI Center. We'll be right back. And Michael Jordan in his preseason home debut as a Washington Wizard, playing 16 minutes in the first half, 5 for 9 from the field, 15 points. His club trailing the Nets by 18. Marv Albert, John Thompson, and the Czar, Mike Fratello. What were your impressions of Michael in the first half?
I called him Floor Jordan, not Air Jordan. Now I'm going to call him Mr. Floor Jordan. I was very impressed. I thought Doug made some adjustments also defensively out there and closed up the middle.
Wizard defense, though, in the first half was lackluster. I would think that Doug Collins and the staff very unhappy with that aspect.
Well, with Michael in the game, we find ourselves talking so much about Washington and Michael. I think we need to give Jersey a little bit of credit for the fact they shot 55% from the floor, 28-8 in the paint as far as points go in favor of New Jersey. How about this? 13 zip on fast break points for New Jersey.
It's a layup drill, wasn't it?
They pushed it. They got it down the floor. They got high percentage shots.
Oh, let's take a look at some of the halftime statistics. Mike, you mentioned the 55%, 22 of 40 from the field. Washington just 14 of 37 for 38 points, and it's all Nets off the boards in the paint. Every conceivable category. Jordan did account for 9 of Washington's last 11 points. Let's get back to Craig Sager. Craig?
Well, Marv, the least of Doug Collins' concerns tonight is Michael Jordan. He was 5 for 9, as you mentioned. He said the rest of the team offensively was horrible. They could not put the ball in the basket. They shot just 32%. Defensively, he said it was even worse. They're getting picked apart. They were not playing good defense at all. He said he almost looked out there and thought he was playing against Princeton, the way they had so many easy points in the paint. He also said emotionally they're not playing with the same fire that he wants them to. They're not playing relaxed, sitting around and not doing what they've been taught to do in practice. So Michael he's not concerned about, but the rest of the team, well, I think it's an uphill battle.
We have had many Princeton's references here tonight.
You realize that with all these young players so new to the game, the time that the staff for Washington has spent on little things. Yesterday was the first day they got a chance to talk about covering pick and roll defense in practice. They've got so far to go at the defensive end of the floor. Doug Collins knows this. It's going to take time. They're not going to be ready by game 1 of the season, opening night. But somewhere along the line, hopefully it'll all fall in place for them.
And I think, Mike, they got better as they played longer. And as you indicated earlier, with all of the attention that's being given to some of these kids, with Michael being there, they have to get over the stage fright and seek their level of confidence right now.
Leitner getting it inside to Thomas. There is some symmetry here with all the Princeton references with your son.
Well, I didn't want to say that.
Head coach. Which is purely coincidental.
I like those references, and I'm certain he does too.
The Nets now lead 55-39. They open up with Kittles and Kidd in the backcourt. Van Horn, who has shot very well up front with McCullough, and the rookie Jefferson.
It's been a while since we've seen Van Horn face up and shoot that jump shot with a lot of confidence. He's gone more to putting the ball on the floor, trying to beat people off the dribble, but it becomes doubly effective if he makes that outside jump shot because he has range on it.
There has been so much discussed about the fact that Keith Van Horn just did not click with Stephon Marbury. Foul is called. Leitner will go to the line. Marbury then traded to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for Jason Kidd. And Stephon Marbury was rather outspoken last week in saying, hey, it's not my fault. It's the individual. And then there were several net players who said, well, thinks the point guard has to make guys better.
Well, and I think regardless of how they get along or don't get along, what all these guys have to realize is you have to overcome conflicts and still be successful and win. I've never seen any group of guys, once you got past one, that were that harmonious unless they worked at being that.
Keith Van Horn is shot well. He has 13 points, 5 of 8 from the field.
3 seconds, 3 seconds.
McCullough again to the left hand to bank it home.
No, and I'm impressed with that. The soft hands, a big guy with soft hands who's very comfortable around the basket with post moves.
Tom McCullough signed as a free agent after spending 2 years with the Philadelphia 76ers. Played particularly well in the NBA Finals against the Lakers.
You know, in looking at the Wizards out there, Mike, one of the things that they're going to have to really work on is getting Michael the ball. We're talking about keeping it from him. Michael is making good cuts, and these guys, once defenses are geared towards him, have got to be able to make passes to him at the right time.
Foul committed by Jefferson. That's his third.
What happened, John, on that last out-of-bounds play, Thomas was supposed to be the second screener for Michael Jordan. You see Michael looking over at Thomas right now. What was supposed to happen was Michael was supposed to backpick Leitner, and then Thomas was supposed to screen Michael. But Thomas kind of forgot about that and went on his own and wound up colliding with Michael as they were trying to execute the play. So Michael just looked over at him, reminded him, remember, you're supposed to screen me. I'm the shooter. You're the screener.
And that's one of those things you do not want to forget if you want to play.
16 points for Jordan, 6 of 7 at the line, and the Nets now lead by 17. We're just underway in the third quarter. Jason Kidd and Kerry Kittles, they swing it effectively. Here's Jefferson. That's a foul in the act. Let's see. Foul is called on Thomas. It is a non-shooting foul.
Let's go back a moment ago when Michael was on the foul line. This is after they had tried to run the out-of-bounds play. Here's his heat. Now, remember, you're supposed to screen me. All he's got to do is look at you. You didn't have to say it. He gets the message across.
Foul is called on Jordan, switching off to play McCullough. So Todd McCullough, a 64% free throw shooter, is at the line. Crowd of about 16,000 on hand here at the MCI Center. In Washington, about 4,000 short of a sellout for the preseason home opener for the Washington Wizards, who are 1-2, winning at Miami last Saturday, lost twice to Detroit, did not play well this past Thursday night in Grand Rapids, Michigan, beaten by the Pistons. Jordan, yes. Doug Collins said that his team had no energy the other night. Said we looked like we were in cement. They turned it over 19 times in that game.
But that happens frequently during the preseason because you go into double sessions. Sometimes you have a bunch of exhibition games wrapped around practice. Sometimes coaches practice hard in the morning of the game because they need to get the work. They don't care about the results of the exhibition game necessarily.
Well, I think with a lot of teaching also, you get burdened mentally, you know, and kids are not, or guys are not reacting as much as they're thinking and methodically going through. This is the point of the year where coaches are stopping everything in practice, and even though it's not a physical practice, mental practices can sometimes be very taxing on a player too.
Let's just use the example the last couple of days. They played in Detroit, got beat, had a terrible performance, fly back that night. Doug brings him in an hour plus in the film room. Reject right there, and then 2.5 hours on the floor after that. A 19-year-old may not be used to that.
Van Horn firing the three, which is rebounded by Jordan.
John Thomas just made a great play. He protected Lee, which will allow him to get more pressure.
Michael Jordan setting it up for the jumper against Richard Jefferson. He's now 7 of 11 from the field, and the net lead is down to 14. Here's McCullough. Crowd getting into it with the Wizards showing some signs. Teron Lue. Rebounded by Thomas, battling his way. Tom Thomas cuts it to a 12-point lead, a 6-0 run by Washington.
And the whole Wizards bench went crazy because that's the element they need, that inside presence. Thomas blocked the shot down this end, went down the other end, got an offensive rebound, and put it up.
Foul on Thomas's third.
Second effort, hard work. Block the shot at one end, hustle down the floor, get a missed shot, put it back up and in, and get a working basket for your team. Working hard inside.
Kittles for three. Kerry Kittles with 15 points. That's his second from downtown. He's 6 of 11 from the field.
You know, they need to pull out the old film, as Mike said on Kerry. Kerry can shoot and can play.
Jordan, yes, and it counts. And we're beginning to see a familiar scene here. Michael Jordan has the crowd on its feet. He has caught fire.
He's trying to get the defensive player off him, sees the double team coming, so he turns away from the oncoming double team as he winds up sitting in front of the Wizards bench. And you're going to see the reaction here on the floor. You'll watch his teammates jump up and pick him right up. You may need to give the old-timer a little bit of time on the floor once in a while, John.
A whole lot of time. A whole lot of time he's going to need.
Michael's revved up. Completes the three-point play. He has 17 of the last 25 Wizard points. The Nets up by 12.
T-Mop, with that kind of performance from Michael, if these guys on the Wizards teams have blood running through their vein, they've got to get into this. And that's the thing that he does. He's contagious and has an effect on other people's level of play. These guys should feed off of his performance right now.
It's a defensive 3-second call, the automatic technical foul, so Kittles will shoot it.
So one of the things that's always been so great about Michael is not only does he give it to you at the offensive end, but he goes right back down and digs in defensively, and there's that contagious thing taking place that John just talked about.
Donnie Marshall had the hot hand of the first half, is checked in for the Nets. Thomas doing a good job fronting McCullough. Shot clock is 6. Down to 3, 2, 1. Kidd. Thomas with the one-handed rebound. Jordan with the step. Jordan puts it down. 25 for Michael Jordan. And here are the Wizards right back down by 10, and the Nets will talk it over. Hey, this is preseason.
Didn't I read somewhere where they said he lost a step and couldn't jump quite as high? Well, we may have to play this again tonight.
I was getting ready to say, who was that idiot that called him Floor Jordan?
The NBA on TNT is brought to you by UPS. Ground overnight international at myups.com. And by Mazda, who invites you to discover the sheer joy of motion.
Well, Friday night on TNT, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker team up in Rush Hour.
Drama is teaming up China's best detective with LA's worst.
Which one of y'all kicked me?
Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker, Rush Hour.
Well, here are the numbers on Michael Jordan. He's hit his last 5 shots. He scored 19 of the last 27 points for Washington. He's hit 10 of the last 12 points for the Wizards. 25 in all, 9 for 13 from the field.
Who needs teammates? We're talking about being very democratic, distributing the wealth. If they're going to be good, this is what's going to happen.
Well, it's democracy. Everyone's equal. It's just that some are more equal than others.
That's exactly right.
Marshall for 3. McCullough had it knocked away. Nesby with the lead. And Jordan able to come up with the ball. Oh, what a pass for Alexander. Able to knock it down. The assist to Jordan. The Wizards are within 8. Kidd played by Jordan on the switch. Here's Marshall. Van Horn with the shot clock running down. Jordan on the loose ball, and suddenly the Wizards more aggressive at the defensive end.
Well, Eton Thomas is doing a hell of
a 16-3 run, and the net lead once 19 is down to 5.
He's just having fun out here right now. That's all he's doing. He's having fun playing basketball.
McCullough. Jordan with the rebound. Just under 6 remaining in the third. 13 of his 28 here in the third. Jordan again! A 3 for Jordan! It's a 2-point game! Standing ovation from the crowd here in Washington will not count. Foul before the shot attempt called on Thomas.
Talk about feeling it. Well, he knows when he's got it going right now. He comes down, hits the first one, and then never even hesitates. He knows Van Horn has switched on, and Van Horn's more worried about the drive. Jordan's more worried about the jumper.
And I think those Wizards teammates of his are just beginning to realize who they're playing with, because the excitement on the bench and the look in their eyes was just as enlightening as it was for the spectators.
Yeah, and you know Doug Collins is going to go in after this game and say, that's what he's all about. So you understand, that's what it's all about. That's what all his hype has been all about.
And Doug is going to also say, forget about all this democracy and distribution of the ball. Give this man the ball and let him create plays for others.
Standing ovation as Michael Jordan will get a rest after hitting all 6 of his shots here in the third quarter. And that free throw by Todd McCullough finally gets the Nets on the board. A 19-3 run for Washington.
Doug Collins impressed upon us the importance of Michael and Doug communicating with each other. Michael took himself out that time. He looked over at Doug. He gave him a signal. That was enough. 6 hard, strong minutes. So productive. Time to get me out for a break.
Nesby coughed it up, and it leads to the fast break by Kittles. But obviously the problem with this ball club is they try to trap Alexander when Michael's not on the floor. We're looking at the Wizards that we saw a year ago.
Well, and that's one of the things. They have to be able to carry over that air of confidence they have when he is in the game once he's out of the ball game. I liked what Eton Thomas did. Even though Michael put on a tremendous performance, Eton Thomas blocked up the middle and gave a big man's presence in there. I think during that stretch, he did a tremendous job.
Well, certainly the 55% field goal average that the Nets had at halftime was not the same because of the aggressiveness of Washington's defense. Good defense leads to easy offense.
Jason Kidd will go to the line, looking for the three-point play. 5:04 remaining in this third quarter. It was a spectacular performance by Michael Jordan, who just a moment ago took himself out, sat down after hitting 6 of 6 in the field in the third quarter. Timeout is taken by the Wizards. The Nets now lead 70-61. So Jordan now with 31 points in his 22 minutes of play. We'll be right back.
He's going to have spurts. And he had a preseason game where he scored 18 points in 12 minutes. Against Miami. But the one thing that I've reiterated to our players is we cannot stand and watch him play. And one of the things we've done in scrimmages is put situations where Michael's on the floor, that team cannot let Michael shoot for maybe a 5 or 6 minute stretch, just so they have to learn to play with he's on the floor and not just to watch him play.
And what this will do is it will force 1 or 2 of these emerging young players to assert themselves, understand the responsibility that's on their shoulders, because when Michael's out, they just can't drop off the edge suddenly as a team. Someone else must pick it up. Some others must pick it up. There's not just one of them that's on this team besides Michael that can do it by themselves.
Well, Bobby Simmons, the rookie from DePaul, who is a good three-point shooter, is able to bury the 3 to bring the Wizards within 6. Michael Jordan with 25 points the last 14 minutes of play.
Doug Collins likes Bobby Simmons. He's one of the players that worked out in Chicago with Michael all summer. Did the weight training program with Michael. Said he's a very quick learner, very smart basketball player. He likes him.
Jordan liked his toughness going up against him during the summer. Here's Nesby for three. And knocked out of bounds by Simmons.
You know, Tyrone Nesby is one of the big question marks for this team. He's on the last year of his contract. Obviously, he's playing for his next contract. He's the only guy that has some size and strength at the small forward position. And if he can come through and be a consistent performer and not just tease Doug and the team, but a consistent performer, then it allows Michael to play more minutes at the guard position.
Well, Michael traded for him last year, so obviously he likes him. But I think you hit the nail right on the head. What has to happen with this team is it has to become a boat with oars when Michael is not in the game. They're playing like a boat without oars when Michael is not in the game. But I listened to Doug say that they don't want to stand and watch him. Heck, I wouldn't mind standing and watching him if he put on the kind of performance he just put on.
Foul on Marshall. Here's Simmons, a 78% free throw shooter. In his days at DePaul, way off on that first attempt. Originally a second-round draft pick of the Seattle Sonics. Bobby Simmons with a second shot. 4 minutes, 2 seconds remaining in the third. Marv Albert, John Thompson, Mike Fratello from Washington. The Nets have led by as many as 19. Sparked by Jordan. The Wizards have come roaring back. It's now a 6-point lead. Jason Kidd. Rather McCullough able to get to it. Once again, you see the excellent hands of Todd McCullough.
Great hands, but when you have the inside position defensively, the Wizards have to at least block out and get that ball. You can't give them 2 and 3 shots on their offensive board.
Popeye Jones off the ball fake is turned back. Here's Kidd racing with Alexander and is fouled.
It looks like the Nets have started to get out again and to try to push it down. The Wizards, at least if they're not blocking shots and not rotating, have to get back in transition and cut off the easy baskets. One thing, fellas, we want to remember about the Wizards, though, is Rip Hamilton is not in this ball game. He has not played in this game, and obviously he's a person that will be more aggressive offensively for the Wizards.
Yes, Richard Hamilton out with an elbow problem, led the Wizards in scoring last year, averaged 18 a game in his third year out of the University of Connecticut. Reminder coming up next right here on TNT. Our preseason doubleheader activity continues. The Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers from Las Vegas. Well, since Michael Jordan sat down, the Nets have outscored the Wizards 9-3. They now lead by 10.
And a lot of that, Marv, is psychological. These guys have to not become fans of Michael's, but respect his ability and play to him. But when he's out of there, they've got to compete hard with the same level of confidence they do when he's not in the game, when he's in the game.
Good job on the offensive glass by Popeye Jones. There's Popeye. Wild angle shot.
Not exactly what they had set up for.
Sometimes you open by design of the defense. And that was one of those times Popeye needed to realize that.
Popeye still shaking his head and out of the defensive end. And a foul is called. It is on Nesby.
I think actually it was Kwame Brown that was called for the foul coming around in the post area. That's probably the third or fourth foul that Washington has had on their post people, where they're just grabbing the post-up guy and trying to come around into a front position. And that's good post-up position by the offensive player, something that Doug Collins was trying to work with Kwame Brown on yesterday.
Work with yesterday, and that's more frustration on Kwame's part, but those are the things that he's going to have to learn and will learn.
You fall asleep for an instant, you give that offensive player the good position, then it's too late to recover.
Once you're sealed in this league, you don't get that territory back.
Jason Kidd saw that pass coming. And Jason Kidd off the steal, able to cash in.
Wait, how can you take only one dribble from half court and make a layup like that? Put it out in front of you, go catch up to it.
Mike Mathis with the call. It's an offensive foul.
Anticipate the passing lane, slap it away, and then you see Kidd one dribble, and then maybe a couple of steps in between before he lays it up.
But little teeny steps.
Okay.
Foul was called on Nesby. That is his fourth. So we are seeing the same script. Michael Jordan's on the floor. And the Wizards, a very competitive ball club. When he sits down, they are in major trouble. They're down again by double digits, trailing by 14 points.
Well, again, they're getting pushed around on their defensive boards. They're rebounding by committee right now. But at least you're going to create a foul, as they just did by boxing out. They definitely have to defend in the middle on defense, and you have to also secure the ball after the shot is taken by the opponent.
Foul on Jason Collins, the rookie out of Stanford. Both teams over the foul limit. And here is Popeye Jones, one of the elder statesmen on this team, 31 years old, in his 9th NBA season out of Murray State.
Doug Collins mentioned to us yesterday he always wants to have either Popeye Jones or Leitner on the floor when Kwame Brown is out there, because the young man is trying to learn so many things all at once. The veteran guy can kind of help him. You're over here in this play, you're over here in that play. Talk to him at the defensive end and try and give him some guidance out there.
And both Leitner and Popeye in yesterday's practice went out of their way to try to break the young kid in, and I respect them a great deal for that, because really they're vying for playing time with him.
Brandon Armstrong, the rookie from Pepperdine, who just checked in, able to hit on his first field goal attempt. One of 3 first-round picks for the New Jersey Nets. Nesby for 3. Jones is tied up. Kidd comes away with it. Jason Kidd pushing it. Armstrong. Nice ball movement by the Nets. Kidd behind the back from McCullough.
See, and that's an indication of McCullough's hands. A lot of big guys would not have caught that ball. In order for him to be able to throw that, he's got to have confidence in you to catch that based on the distance and based on it being a blind pass. Great play by Jason Kidd, but also a great play by Todd in catching it.
7 assists for Kidd, who's all over the court. Another deflection by Jason.
This comes late, and you see McCullough almost fumble it for a second, but gets a hold of it, those strong hands, and then he lays it up and in by extending the arms, keeping it high. You don't know if Kidd's going to kick it outside to a perimeter guy. Instead, he knows exactly where his big man is on the inside, and the big man knows, I better be ready just in case he decides to throw it to me.
Well, see, what McCullough's got to also know is that Jason gets paid for assists. And if he gives it to you, you better doggone sight reward him by catching it and putting it in the basket.
And Popeye Jones was just called for a technical foul. Apparently had a bit too much to say to one of the officials, and Jason Kidd will shoot the tee. Since Michael Jordan sat down and he had the hot hand, he was 6 for 6 from the field in the 3rd quarter. Washington has been outscored 18-5.
That's why I wouldn't put him back in the game again. Because once the regular season starts, you can't take him out. You got to win then.
Armstrong. Nice recovery. Jones slapped the ball away. Brandon Armstrong, who is a shooter, a first-round pick of the Houston Rockets, and acquired in the deal for Eddie Griffin. Foul.
Armstrong, one of those young men who went to Chicago during the pre-draft camp and really helped himself, elevated himself as far as the opinion of many of the scouts that were there. He came out of there with the reputation of having a nice stroke, a guy who, when you put him on the floor, he finds a way of scoring points.
Foul was called on Kidd, sending Alexander to the line. And Jahidi White about to make his first appearance of the night.
Well, and Jahidi's another one of the centers by committee that they have actually right now. His big presence, his rebounding ability will be needed. Setting screens, helping to get Michael open. Those are the kinds of things. If they're big guys on the front, just do the minimum. This team can be an effective team, particularly if Michael's playing the way he is now. And that's his job, getting the ball.
Jahidi bothered by tendonitis in his left knee. Played for you, John, at Georgetown.
Well, he's got a great attitude. He works hard. He's a very physical player. Sometimes he gets a little anxious and gets a little upset too quickly. But I think he's going to be all right.
Foul on Armstrong. That will put the Wizards back at the line with just 9 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
You know what I got a kick out of yesterday in practice? Doug got on Jahidi a little bit, and Jahidi, the steam was coming out of his ears. He went right down the other end of the court and folded Brown. I said he wasn't really hitting Brown, he was hitting Doug, but he had to take it out on Kwame.
The Nets 85, the Wizards 68. Final seconds of the third. A little backdoor flip. Jennifer Armstrong was pushing out. His call for the foul. Offensive foul on Armstrong, looking to cut to the baseline. We're down to 4 6/10 seconds remaining in the third. Kwame Brown will put it in play. Here's Whitney. And he's called for a traveling violation.
It was a good call. He took off, started to run before he put the ball on the floor. Try to get that extra step knowing you had just over 4 seconds remaining. There he goes, taking those first 2 steps and then puts the ball down.
Maybe he saw the film of Jason Kidd making that layup and thought maybe he could do the same thing.
3.2 to go as Marshall inbounds. Here's Kidd on a step-back jumper. So after 3 here in Washington, it's the Nets 85 and the Wizards 68. The Nets able to regroup after the departure of that man. Michael Jordan with 16 of his 31 in the third, hitting all 6 of his shots. Then he left, and the game turned back to New Jersey. As this fourth quarter gets underway, let's take a look at tonight's budget rent-a-car fast break.
There's a big deficit right there up on top. Fast break points. It's tough to give away that many easy points. When I say easy, usually you're outnumbering your opponent 2-1, 3-1 on the fast break end of the floor. So those aren't points that they really had to work to execute their offense to make it happen. They're giving them easy points by not getting back in transition. And in the paint, where's that presence? Where are the big people for Washington?
Well, it's a danger in that, as you know, Mike. When you're giving up, when you're not getting transition baskets and you're not getting baskets in the point in the paint, and your opponent is, you're going to rely on the outside jump shot, and it's not going to fall as much as it is doing right now for Michael every day.
The Wizards with only 7 points the last 5.5 minutes. Foul is called on Armstrong of the Nets. Chris Whitney now working at the point. Here's Whitney. And rebounded by Aaron Williams, who just checked back in. The rookie, Jason Collins, up front, along with Williams and Marshall. Here's Armstrong. Collins with a good job and rejected by White. Jahidi White with the block shot.
He had to block it because he got pushed out under the basket and let him get an offensive rebound. He cannot let that happen if he wants to stay on the floor.
Alexander forcing along the baseline, and Doug Collins just pointing down the bench for number 23, and you hear the reaction from the crowd. Michael has played 22 minutes. He scored 31 points. The plan was that he would go about 30 minutes. Loose ball foul.
And from the looks of this game, they only have the luxury of that plan during exhibition. Michael being on the bench for this team is going to be a luxury. They need him on the floor.
I think you're going to see Courtney Alexander sitting next to Doug Collins, and Doug's going to talk to him right now about the last shot that he took.
He was upset, yes.
It was not a good shot. You had Brown hustling to get into the low post area to establish position. Instead, Courtney winds up taking a bad shot. Immediately, Doug turned to the bench, said to Michael, go ahead in. Now he's trying to send a message to the youngster.
Jahidi White rejected by Williams, and last touch by Kwame Brown.
Well, he did a great job on the offensive board, but then when he found himself out of position, he might have been better off in just getting it out because he had done his job in getting the ball. He's got to relax a little bit and not be as anxious.
And the foul away from the ball. It's on Kwame Brown. Kwame, it is number 4. Kwame, the 19-year-old, the overall #1 pick in the draft out of Glenn Academy in Brunswick, Georgia. Derek Dial played last year with San Antonio. He stopped. Simmons off the steal. Simmons with the spin. Simmons on the tip.
I think that
goes Jordan. Michael Jordan contesting with Simmons, and Jordan got a piece of it. So the Nets now lead 85-70. Williams draws the double. Here's Dial. And Williams fouled by Whitney.
Just a rookie mistake right there. Brown turned, looked at the basket, never put his body on his man. Body him first, check him, then worry about the ball. The ball just bounced right over Kwame's head, right back to Jersey.
Well, he never had his arms up. And a lot of young players will realize that your arms really go before your legs. Kids put so much emphasis on legs, but you've got to be able to, with all the pushing and shoving going on, be able to reach, because most of the rebounds are indeed taken under the basket. You're absolutely right, Mike. He had his hands at the side, and that's what Doug is probably telling him now. Box out, put your hands in there. You don't really have to jump. You have to move laterally and get the ball.
Armstrong. He was played by Jordan. He wanted to hit that shot so badly. Forced it, and the ball back to the Wizards. Kwame Brown with only 3 points, all from the foul line, sitting down with the 4 fouls. Christian Laettner is back on the floor. Quiet night for Christian. He's played 20 minutes. He's attempted only 1 shot.
Well, that's the thing that I expected him to be a lot more aggressive offensively, and I think he has to be a little bit, particularly inside on this team, because he has a lot of court savvy. He might be just letting other guys play a little bit now.
Foul on Armstrong in the act, so Jordan to the line.
They had just been talking at each other coming down the floor, so Michael worked hard to establish that post-up position. Then you knew he was going to take that opportunity to try and teach the youngster a lesson out there.
That's the thing about Michael. What a lot of people don't realize, he's one of the biggest trash talkers in the game, even when he plays informally. And he does it in a manner in which he's enjoying himself and having fun out there.
Does it with the smile. You cannot always tell what is being said. He's upset with himself for missing the first of the 2 free throws. 85-71, New Jersey. Shot clock to 7. And now Whitney with Jordan. Whitney takes all the way. It counts, and the foul.
Chris Whitney had to make a tough decision. He saw Michael Jordan on the opposite side of the floor. If Michael could have just gotten out 1 more step earlier, he would have given it back. Instead, he had to make a decision. Give it or try and turn the corner myself. That time, he did turn the corner just enough to get a look and the opportunity now for a 3-point play.
Brandon Armstrong committing the foul. That's his 5th foul in 5 minutes of play.
You better stop talking and play some defense.
Talking about Michael's offense, I've enjoyed watching him guarding his man down here without the basketball. That's why he's so intelligent. I mean, he knows how to cut the floor off, cut the receivers off, give support, and even fake. One time he smiled at the guy to dare him to drive on him.
Shot clock down to 6. Dial digging for the baseline. Isn't it interesting when Jordan is on the floor, well, that was a foul, how the Wizards become much more effective and more aggressive at the defensive end.
Well, that's exactly true. And I think that again, is the presence that this man has on the court at both ends is invaluable to this team.
Well, Michael Jordan is back. He knocked the team's deficit of 17 points down to just 2 before taking a rest at the end of the 3rd quarter. But he's back. Nobody more excited, I guess, than his partner in Lincoln Holdings, Ted Leonsis. Because of your, partnership with him, you sold back his rights are bought him so he could play. What's your impression firsthand?
Well, I think it's a good step for him. I can see him smiling. So when he's happy, everyone else is happy. And John Thompson, I think this Floor Jordan stuff really got to him.
Not only Coach Thompson, but a lot of people are surprised that Michael came back with the Washington Wizards. You're the first to seek him out. Why were you so confident?
Michael's a great guy, and he's very loyal, and he's building this team from scratch. And so this is a way to accelerate that development. And you see, when he's playing, we go down 5. He leaves, we're down 16. So the team needs to learn how to win, and there's no one that's a bigger winner than Michael Jordan.
You look around here, you see Abe pulling up there. This team has not won a playoff game in 19 years. The city, Washington, D.C. has been through so much turmoil since September 11th. What does this mean for everybody?
Well, I couldn't be happier for Abe, and it's great to have the building jumping. And between the Caps with Yager and now the Wizards with Michael Jordan, I think DC's really become one of the great sports cities in the country. He'll get 40 tonight, right?
Well, I think he could if he wanted to, but with Jordan and Yager, pretty exciting place to be.
Yeah, I'm real excited, and I know the commissioner, if he's watching, is happy to see Michael back, and I know we are with Turner and TNT because Michael brings excitement back to the game, and the quality of his play is still there, so I can't wait for the season to start.
We can't either. Let's go back now to Marv.
All right, thank you, Craig. Ted Leonsis with a mild shot in your direction, John.
But what more can you expect from a hockey guy? He doesn't realize that floor is synonymous with intelligence in basketball. So in a guy that's been skated upon so much time, what do you expect? Now, Ted knows that I like Michael an awful lot, and I just think that Michael definitely is going to mean an awful lot to this franchise. We all know that.
And certainly a thrilling time for sports in our nation's capital with the Washington Caps acquiring Jaromir Jagr. Michael Jordan now in a Wizard uniform. Michael is now 13 of 18 from the field. He has 36 points in 26 minutes of play.
Well, I'm certain that they would be real.
Well, that's not a Georgetown free throw, as Jahidi.
Yes, it was, too.
Jahidi goes off glass.
That shot was very indicative of Georgetown free throw shooting, especially when I was coaching.
And then straightens it out right on target. The Wizards, with Jordan on that run in the third quarter, cut a 19-point lead down to 2. Right now, the Nets up by 9 with 7.5 remaining in the fourth. Here's Dial. And he draws the foul, so Derek Dial will shoot 2.
New Jersey really executing the backdoor move. As soon as they feel pressure, they change direction, go backdoor, and then they replace and fill that open spot. They actually had one player backdoor. He did not receive the pass. The next player who replaced him was overplayed. That man backdoor cut, and he received it.
Derek Dial, member of the San Antonio Spurs. Also played in Greece, signed as a free agent, his third NBA season out of Eastern Michigan, competing for that backup point guard position behind Jason Kidd. And that's 87, the Wizards 77.
Backup point guards don't get a lot of minutes behind Jason Kidd. He only averages, about 45, 46 minutes a night.
Guy just wants to make the NBA rosters out. Leave him alone. Here's Jordan. Yes, and it counts. A foul on Jefferson. Got him on the way up.
Poor Jefferson.
You see his face. He like looked over and said, what am I supposed to do? Michael moving, working to get free. Just don't stand still and get free in this league. And then he faces up, looks his opponent down, and elevates. As he brought it up, the hand reaching in caused the foul. Michael with the strength to follow through and make the shot, the concentration all the way.
Well, and he fouled out Jefferson. I think that's indicative of his intelligence on the floor, the timing of his cuts, how to use screens. Those were the things that he was talking to the players in practice about. And that's the reason .com Steady Teddy that I talk about him as being Floor Jordan. He knows how to play the game on the floor and not just physically in the air.
.com Steady Teddy.
too many hockey pucks hit him.
Meanwhile, Michael with 39 points, and the Nets lead 89-80. Just under 7. A lot of time remaining in this fourth. Jordan rebounded by Dial.
The one thing we have to give Ted credit for, he did say, Marv, that he would get 40. He may be right with that.
Aaron Williams posting. Wild shot by Williams, and nowhere to go on Jahidi White. Whitney for 3. Leitner keeps it alive. See Michael Jordan calming things down, taking the timeout.
I think people will listen. You talk about E.F. Hutton. I think they'll listen to Michael, too, when he talks and says, slow down.
6:19 remaining in the fourth. The Nets up by 9. Back to the MCI Center in our nation's capital. 6 minutes, 19 seconds remaining in the fourth. The Nets with an 89-80 lead on the Wizards a moment ago. Michael Jordan calling for time, looking to settle things down. Perhaps a little tired. Is that possible here?
Well, he thought it was time. If they're going to make a run here, they're only 9 points down in the game. Let's get ourselves back together. Let me get myself a little break here. I think he was a little winded coming down the floor. And they've got about 3 or 4 minutes here where they can try hard to get this thing down, 2 or 3 point game. And then, who knows, you want to give it to Michael. He's got a good chance of winning the game for you.
Well, you want to give it to Michael. You want to practice winning. I think that's the thing that he knows how to do as well as anybody. And obviously, he wants to show these younger players, let's take a shot at trying to win this thing, not just playing it because it's an exhibition game.
Michael taking it to the rim with the left hand. 39 points for Jordan. 6 for 6 from the field in the third quarter. Holding foul is called on White. Michael has played 28 minutes, 14 of 21. This is a very unusual preseason game. You rarely see a player score a big number. And here you have, 40-point game coming up for Jordan. And he's not forcing shots.
Well, remember, we said in the beginning of the game that we felt these people were in for a treat tonight because he really felt badly that he had to miss the game the other night due to the sore foot. They had a large crowd here to watch the inter-squad scrimmage. And Michael got on the microphone and apologized because he had soreness in his foot. And he said, look, we have a long season. But he wanted to play in front of these Washington fans. So you knew tonight he was going to try and come out and do something special.
Well, and as confident as he is in himself, I think it's a good for him as well as it is for the team that he has this kind of game. Because when you've been out of it as long as he has, this does a lot for his confidence also.
Shot clock running down. Here's Jordan on the pull-up. 15 and 22, 41 points from Michael Jordan.
John, I thought there was a time in the game after he hit a couple shots that I saw him like talking to himself, and it was as if to say, you know what, I can still do it. I can still do it. I can make things happen.
If he doesn't believe it, I certainly do. Believe he can still do it.
Did you think really there were any doubts in his mind?
I don't think there's any doubts in his mind. I just think that he realized that he had to change style. He's not getting a lot of layups, not getting a lot of dunks. A lot of his shots are coming off fadeaways. They're not getting transition baskets. But he's still just as good on the floor as he is in the air.
The questions involve the supporting cast. So yeah,
that's a big question.
Here's Jordan, rejected by Williams. Comes back to Jordan, but he was out of bounds. So the ball goes back to the Nets.
This is the move that Michael had just gone to a couple seconds ago in the game. Missed that lefty layup. This time he gets the reject, and as Michael is trying to get back inbounds, the ball lands in his hand.
Well, and I still think he's trying to get his legs under him even more than they are. And that's one of the reasons why he's taking the fadeaway as opposed to penetration. He hasn't been doing a lot of penetrating, but that's a part of his game. If he can get that back, boy, everybody's really going to be in trouble.
And Jordan is fouled. Foul called on Donnie Marshall. That's his third.
They're actually going to call it as Marshall tried to run through the screen. He ran through or tried to run through Jahidi White. That's why White's going to the foul line now to shoot that free throw.
White 1 for 2 from the line, was able to straighten things out after banking one off off the glass. And you see the foul right there. Push on White. Really struggled at the line.
He struggled at the line, and I wonder really did Marshall think that he could lift Jihadi up to get to Michael. I think I'd pick on somebody a lot smaller, but really Marshall and Michael have been talking trash to each other a lot out there too, and I think Marshall was really trying to get out there to show his coach that he could slow him down a little bit.
Again, the foul on Marshall. Both teams are over the limit, and now Bobby Simmons, the rookie from DePaul, will shoot two. Doug Collins with White, Leitner, and Simmons up front. Whitney and Jordan in the backcourt. See Michael sneaking up in case Simmons misses the free throw. He was going to run the lane, but a loose ball foul is called on Washington. Committed by Leitner.
With Michael playing the way he is, you really want to see some of these other Wizards really get into it, because it'll really be exciting to see some of them join in defensively, as you indicated, Marv, which you're absolutely correct. When he gets in there, it does become contagious, and they do play more effectively defensively. But offensively, I'd love to see somebody just step up a little bit more.
We're down to 4:23 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Nets 92, the Wizards 83. Teron Lue checks back in, coming on for Chris Whitney. Whitney leads with 5 points. Teron Lue has played 21 minutes, 0 for 6 from the field. And Lue now will handle the chores at point guard. Double up on Jordan. Kicks it out. Lue. That's his first bucket.
I think Michael got on him a little bit, wanted him to take that shot a lot faster than he took it.
Because you have to understand, many times in this league, it's a catch and shoot situation as opposed to catch it, put it on the floor, then trying to make something happen. That becomes hard in this league.
And a defense from this crowd. The net lead is now 8. Armstrong. Jordan leading Simmons. Beautifully thrown by Jordan, who's delighted with Simmons running the court.
As soon as Michael got it, his head was up. He looked down the floor. Eye contact with Simmons. He led him with the pass layup.
And it might have been one of the few fast break baskets that the Wizards have been able to get. If they're going to be successful, they can't just depend on Michael's outside shot. They've got to get easy baskets out of the paint or in transition as they did here.
There you see the 50-foot pass that leads to the score by Simmons.
In at Las Vegas, Nevada, the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers on the floor, warming up, getting ready for the second of our preseason doubleheader. Coming up next on TNT, there's one of the new members of the Sacramento Kings, Mike Bibby, getting ready. Bob Neal, Hubie Brown will have it for you following the Nets and the Wizards. 3:26 remaining in the fourth. Nets have led by as many as 19. Jordan staying on the floor. He's played 30 minutes. You get the idea, Doug Collins would like to pull this one out. So Michael remains in play. 5 on the shot clock. Here's Dial. White with the rebound. Teron Lue pushing it down. Jordan posting, beating Dial, hands it off to White.
Oh, that was a great play on Michael's part and penetrating, and even a great play on Jihadi and catching it. But the thing that I love that he did is get on the boards the way he's supposed to. Get that outlet. Did you see that?
How about that outlet pass?
It's a 4-point net lead. Marshall. Dial able to get to it, and they have the new 24.
Jersey very fortunate because there's a situation where you know Washington is closing this thing down from New Jersey's standpoint. You want to get a good shot, not a rush shot. Donnie Marshall hurries up and shoots along and misses.
But I think right now Doug Collins wants to practice mob winning. That's as important as anything else.
Oh, what a shot by Van Horn, who was surrounded He was double teamed, able to get it off and hit. That's a big bucket. He has 17 points, and the Nets now lead 95-89.
Well, you go through so many late game situations, time and score when you're coaching in practice, and this gives him an example and an opportunity to practice the Wizards who are trying to win late in the game.
Here's Jordan. No foul call. Jordan had the ball deflected away, and he will throw in with 7 on the shot clock.
Washington wants to take a 20-second timeout. Michael, as he goes to elevate, the ball is stripped from behind his head. That's why there's no foul call.
Timeout taken by Washington with 1:54 remaining in the fourth. 1:54 to go in the fourth quarter. Washington in possession, trailing New Jersey by 6. They have 7 on the shot clock. Here's Lou, and Leitner with a rare shot. Christian Leitner with 6 points. That's only his second field goal attempt. He's 2 for 2, and the net lead is down to 4.
See, I think he needs to do more of that. Hit that outside jump shot, which will open up his ability to drive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's too good of an offensive player just to have taken him down the shots, and I'm certain Doug wants him to be more aggressive offensively.
Simmons looking for Jordan, can't find him. Shot clock down to 7. Here's Tyronn Lue. Oh, beautifully done by Lue. The Wizards are within 2 with 1:18 remaining in the fourth.
See, Marvin, that's what Michael's presence does for you. They're expecting him to get it. The floor opened up. Everybody was pressuring Michael. The floor opened up, and Lue went through and was able to get a layup.
They double up on Williams. Dial with 10 on the 24. Here's Dial. Derek Dial gets the roll, and the Nets now lead 97-93.
Here's where size plays such a big importance. Lue just too small that time to challenge the shot when it got in the paint area.
Dial at 6'4". Leitner. Lue for 3. And Dial on the rebound. Meanwhile, the Nets, who also would like a W, staying with Derek Dial as Armstrong hits the 3. Byron Scott not coming back with Jason Kidd, showing confidence in this group on the floor. Timeout called by Washington with 36 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. And the Nets lead 100-93. The rookie Brandon Armstrong with a huge field goal. Marv Albert with the czar, Mike Fratello, John Thompson from Washington. The New Jersey Nets with a very impressive performance as they gun for their 3rd straight win in the preseason. The Wizards come in at 1-2. The Wizards pulling within 2 points in the 3rd quarter after trailing by as many as 19, led by Michael Jordan, who hit all 6 of his shots in the 3rd. And here on the 4th, they come within 2. With Jordan back on the floor, and he has scored 41 points in 33 minutes, hitting 15 of 24 from the field. But now just 36 seconds to go. The Nets are up by 7, and Michael Jordan sits down, replaced by Corey Alexander.
Well, the thing you respect about Michael, when he went out of the ball game, he was angry. Even though he's played well, he's trying to get into shape. You could see by the expression on his face that he was troubled by the fact that the Nets coming back the way they did on him.
Oh, the steal by Lue. Rejected. What a play by Dial, who has come up with a number of key plays down the stretch.
I'm not sure that Tyronn Lue believed that the defensive player was going to come after him like that. He laid it out a little too soft instead of getting there and getting on the backboard.
But see, and that's again is one of the reasons why one of those big guys have to make themselves available, Mike. He's accustomed to penetrating. The help comes. He drops it to Shaq. Shaq's not there anymore. These big guys have to follow him to the basket because he's already gotten the habit of giving it off.
And Derek Dial completes a splendid evening for himself and his team. 13 points for Dial. The Nets defeat the Wizards 102-95 despite the exploits of Michael Jordan in his preseason home debut as a member of the Wizards. 41 points in 33 minutes. Let's go to Craig with Michael Jordan.
Well, Michael, you've worked awfully hard on this comeback. Lost about 35 pounds, removed 3 years of rust. What's your first-hand impression of tonight's performance?
I mean, obviously, you see with the young team, we got to find ways to score and move the ball and execute. I think it was a big game for them, first time in front of the home crowd, and I think I could sense a little bit of nervousness. And third quarter, I just tried to pick it up and get some energy going, and I started hitting some shots, and the guys started feeding off of that, and then we had a letdown. When I went out of the game, I think it was 63, 61, and I think those are the things we're going to have to eliminate. And that happens with a young team. But it's preseason. I'm working on my game. I think everybody is trying to find, some continuity and chemistry to play at, and I think this team's going to get better.
You mentioned the third quarter. It was great to hear Marv Albert scream, Michael Jordan is having a spectacular night. We haven't heard that in a few years. We can see when you're feeling it from the surface. But any way to describe what it's like inside that uniform when you know you're feeling it?
I mean, it's a good rhythm. The basket seemed big. It's been 3 years since I felt that way, and this is preseason. I'm just trying to get myself in shape, and I want the team to start to get a feel in terms of how I play. I don't want them to sit back and wait for me to play. I think that's one of the things they tend to watch a little bit more than what they should, and I think Doug is trying to eliminate those types of nights and those minutes. So, but with the young team, you're going to have situations like that.
I know you like challenges, but were there any doubts these last few months, especially when you hear wonderful friends like Coach Thompson call you Floor Jordan?
I think he's, he understands that I play with a little bit more wisdom. I'm not going to try to take off from the free throw line. He understands I know how to play the game with my head instead of athleticism. So, I took that as a compliment more than, a knock on the way I play the game of basketball. So, he knows me, and, I didn't look at it in a negative way.
You can dunk, you can dominate, but you can't do it all. When you come out of a game in the first quarter with a 1-point lead, you fall behind by 17. You score 16 in the third quarter, but down again by 17. How bad is it to watch? How much does it hurt you, and how do you resist the urge to take over?
Well, I mean, it's a learning process. I think the team has to see it. I think Doug is going to show the film and see where we are not executing when I walk out of the game. And, that's an area we have to improve. And with the young team, I think we can. It's just going to take some time. I mean, in Chicago, we went through the same phase. And I think that's what we're going to go through now. Hopefully, we can shorten that time period.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you opening night. Let's go back now to Marv.
All right, thanks, Craig. Michael says he has to work on his game. Well, let's see. 33 minutes, 41 points, 15 of 24 from the field. Meanwhile, the Nets led by Van Horn and Kittle, 17 apiece. Kidd with 7 assists. McCullough with 16 points. The Wizards go to 1-3 in the preseason. The Nets 3-2. They've won 3 straight. The Nets 102. The Wizards 95. Up next, right here on TNT, Game 2 of our preseason doubleheader. It'll be the Kings and the Lakers from Las Vegas. For Mike Fratello, John Thompson, and Craig Center, I'm Marv Albert saying goodnight from Washington. After this break, we'll take you to Las Vegas, Nevada.